what's up guys? My name is Zack and today I am driving a 1997 Toyota Tacoma DLX. Up front is a 2.4 liter inline 4 and down below is a 5-speed manual transmission. Now I am super excited to be driving this Tacoma because this is not only the first generation of Tacoma, but I have never driven the first gen Tacoma. And so I'm excited to share this vehicle with you. This is an incredibly clean example. I don't think I'll find a cleaner Tacoma to feature here, and so this should be a good one. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. But let's get back to that 2.4 liter inline 4 under the hood. Well, it was one of two engines offered. This DLX is the base model of the Tacoma. You'll see that with the crank windows and lack of AC. However, you could find this with a 3.4 liter V6 of the era, shared with the 4Runner, if that's something that you would want. Now, the 2.4 liter I don't think is a very bad engine. I think it's actually rather good, and with this being a two-wheel drive truck, you're not really doing anything too crazy with it, so I think 2.4 is a good way to go. And funny enough, the brand new 2024 Tacoma is going back to a 2.4 liter, albeit turbo, but still sticking with the 2.4. Like I said, paired to it is a 5-speed manual transmission. You could, of course, find these in automatic. This is the base model with the manual, and I adore it. It shifts just like a Toyota shifter. It's very notchy, it's very straightforward, and it's very confidence-inspiring, which is what I look for in a shifter. There's no hesitation. There's no guesswork that goes into shifting this truck. It just works, and I love that. Last but not least, like I said, this is two-wheel drive, but I want to talk about the lug pattern because it actually depended on if you had two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. This is the two-wheel drive, and so it's a 5-lug wheel. But if you got a Tacoma with four-wheel drive, they actually had 6-lug wheels. The reason that's so important is because a lot of people build these into like mini trucks and put cool wheels on them and lower them. You're going to have a lot more wheel options with a two-wheel drive than you would a four-wheel drive. How does it feel to drive a Toyota Tacoma from 1997? Well, it drives like most other Toyota products from the era. Very direct and very straightforward. Everything operates in this truck like I would want it to operate. It's easy to see out of. The steering isn't too aggressive. The size isn't too large, and the shifter's friendly. Rowing through the gears here today, I feel more like I'm having a friendly conversation with a college roommate than I do driving a manly pickup truck. So that's very nice to see. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 3 gauges. Off to the left is my coolant temperature, in the center is my speedometer, and off to the right is my fuel. I love these 80s/90s style grid patterns behind the coolant temperature and fuel gauge. I don't know why Toyota did this, but I love it. And on the steering wheel, don't get anything. Nothing at all besides an airbag. Off to the left, we do have a climate control vent and gauge dimmer switch. And moving on to the door, we have a latch to get in and out and a crank for the window. Moving into the center, we have our hazard switch and 2 climate vents for the heat only. However, we do have pull-out cup holders, and so we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the 1997 Toyota Tacoma, and unfortunately, it fails. However, ladies and gentlemen, this was a very important big friggin' bottle test because on paper, it is the 1,000th big friggin' bottle test. That's right, we've big friggin' bottle tested 1,000 vehicles here on the channel, which is reason for celebration. I'll get to that later on in a different video on the channel, but here's how it currently breaks down after 1,000 vehicles with the pass-fail rate. Getting back to the Tacoma, down below, we do have the climate controls. So like I said, we only have heat. This was not an original AC truck, even though it was a California truck, so I'm just stuck with the heat today. Below that, we have an aftermarket radio because any radio from the 90s won't keep up with modern tech. Then we have a little cubby, cigarette lighter, ashtray, another cubby. This is a factory cubby where the previous cubby was just because the radio is now smaller than the factory one. And then we move onto the floor with the shifter. The shifter is nice, tall, and proud, and very easy to operate. Like I said, it does have that Toyota feeling to it, which is one of the best shifters in the game. Honda and Toyota and a little bit of Mazda battled it out in the 90s for the best shifter feel. However, in that battle, there were no losers. Then we move up to the bench seat. I love that it has a little cutout for the shifter. And the seats are nice, plush, and comfortable. Very, very 90s and very nostalgic. I just absolutely love seeing them and love sitting in them because it works really well. It reminds me of the good old days. However, speaking of seats, we don't have any back seats, but we do have a bed. So let's hop back there. Right around the back of the 97 Tacoma. There it is. This is a drop-in bed liner. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and this is finished in a cool steel metallic, which is technically a 1-year only color in name. However, they did it also in 1996 under a different name, but kind of a cool little point there. And I really like the simplicity of the exterior of the first gen Tacoma. This looks like a little honest pickup truck that doesn't want or need anything else. It's not trying to prove a point standing still in your driveway. It's trying to help you with a service. And that's what I've always loved about the look of the Tacoma, but also just the Tacoma in general. Now, there is one glaring issue with the exterior, and it's actually with the frame. The frame was known to have bad rusting issues, so much so that this generation of Tacoma was part of the frame recall from Toyota. Now, with the second gens, they were pretty new when the recall came out, and so you'd take your second gen to the shop and they'd put a new frame on it, which is easier said than done, but that's what they did. With this generation of truck, because they were already pretty old by the time the recall came out, if you had perforated rust on your frame, they just bought the truck from you and crushed it. They didn't even put up with it, and so that's why there's very few of these still on the road today, and that's why it's been so hard to find one, let alone one in such clean condition, is because a lot of them had just a little bit of frame rust, but Toyota deemed it too unsafe and they crushed the truck. So this is a clean California truck and was able to escape the frame rust demolition. However, with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think finally driving a first gen Toyota Tacoma after driving so many different Tacomas here on the channel, but never a proper first gen? Well, I should also note that I've driven a lot of Toyota pickups. And so this is the first generation of the Tacoma. However, it's really a continuation of the older Toyota pickups that came before it. In the early 90s, they were just called the Toyota pickup. And since the dawn of time, they were just called either the Hilux or just the Toyota pickup. And so with that name change, I think they actually struck on something more important. Naming it the Tacoma, giving this pickup an actual name, kind of meant that it was a part of the family now. You know, like when you get a new pet, like say a dog, and you take him home from the shelter, the breeder, or whoever, and you haven't named him yet, and you're like, oh, should we call him Buddy? Should we call him Gary? Should we call him Steve? And you land on Max, let's just say. At that moment, that's when Max starts to feel like part of the family. Because these used to be called just the pickup. That's like someone just referring to me as YouTuber. I have a name, man. Come on. When Toyota actually gave this a proper name, it felt welcome in their community. And the same thing can be felt with the driving dynamics. The Toyota pickups always drove well, but they didn't drive like the other Toyotas. They were very hardcore and straight to the point. Well, the Tacoma is friendly. It's nice. You can tell that this truck's sibling is the Corolla. You can tell that this truck's sibling is a Camry. You could tell that this truck's sibling was the Avalon and the 4Runner. It fit within the family. It was finally welcomed in this generation. And that's the cool part about driving this truck. I've driven the trucks that come before it, and I've driven the trucks after it. And this is a very clear shift into welcomehood in the Toyota family. And so, 1997 Toyota Tacoma, let me be the first to tell you, welcome to the family. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Drew for letting me take out his Toyota Tacoma. Drew has been absolutely awesome to work with. Very down-to-earth guy. This truck has a great story. It's an original California truck. He bought it off a neighbor. Really, really sweet home story, which I always love to hear. Drew has been wonderful, and I appreciate him very, very much. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.